welcome to Rise of the Sith. Today we are going to just discuss what the heck happened during the production of Rise of Skywalker. My name's Mary and I'm here with Denise.
Hello everybody, so we're gonna try to understand, or maybe no, we're never gonna understand, but there are some clues that we can use to find what happened, right?
Well, let's hope. I mean, goodness me, and I promise, guys, I will not be as salty as I was in our review.
Yeah, because anger
leads to the dark side.
To the dark side.
And leads to hate. Hate. Haters gonna hate. Okay, so let's start about the first thing. The alleged Colin Trevorrow script that was on Reddit. Yes. My goodness. So Denise, Penny, for your thoughts.
Yeah, let's just explain a little bit because sometimes people don't know. So basically it's a script that has... they go to Coruscant, but basically the gist of it is that it has Rose. That's a good thing. I think it would have been Rose of Finn, but it would have been Rey with Poe, which, you know, it hasn't been established anywhere. And the worst thing for me is that basically Rey believes that Kylo can be redeemed. She believes, and then all the Force ghosts go to him. They care about him in this version. That's one good thing too. And then he doesn't turn good, and he's extinguished.
Never to be seen again.
Yes. So... that's what I'm thinking about this is that it doesn't make sense. It has no plot, right? Because if he was already bad and he was bad, it has no plot. And further, if you think about Star Wars as fairy tale, you can do fairy tale. You can say once a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was a farmer, yada, yada, yada. You can do with all of them. But imagine this. There was a scavenger, and she believed he could turn good. And then all the spirits of the past came to him, and he did not turn good, and he died. It doesn't work.
No, so. it really doesn't. I mean, there were some parts that I found good in this thing, like Rose, yes, for example.
Yes.
But with Kylo, wow. I mean, okay, there was one part where I think he goes to Mustafar and he fights Darth Vader. And I kind of did like that because, you know, it would have been really cool if he did have, like, a confrontation with Darth Vader. Kind of similar to how Cade Skywalker had a confrontation in Legends with Vader's spirit. And he realizes that he's not Vader, and he doesn't want to be Vader, and he becomes redeemed. But in this, it outright says that, you know, he beats Vader, he takes Vader's mask, and says, "You allowed love to cloud your judgment," and he throws Vader's mask off a balcony, and, you know, basically rejects the idea that he is Vader. Yes. But again, that doesn't make sense because Kathleen Kennedy approached Adam Driver herself. Now, I can't see Adam Driver agreeing to this because JJ, you know, essentially went up to him and said, imagine your character's story is the opposite of Vader's. This isn't the opposite of Vader's, I don't think.
This wouldn't be. There is a detail in that script that's kind of cool, that he gets burned with the mask, and then they put a plate. But I was talking to somebody on, and you know, it's not that bad because fire is purifying, and this mask could be interesting if it was leading to redemption. If, let's say, he had this mask, it does kind of a little Phantom of the Opera thing, it's not bad. If, let's say, Rey were to heal him after that, it could be interesting. It could be an interesting script if it was leading for redemption.
Yes, but it excuse me, it wasn't. At least with the Rise of Skywalker, you know, the version that we have, you can argue that it is the opposite of Vader's because, you know, he starts bad and he becomes good, and he still managed, even though he dies redeemed, which personally I didn't like, he still manages to save the woman he loves, and he's content with that. Unlike Vader, who, you know, he wanted this power to try and save the woman he loved, but he failed, and he just turned into this monster, essentially.
Yes, Vader wanted power because he wanted to save it. He wanted to keep the woman he loved, right? Whereas with Kylo, if you look at the beauty that wasn't really explored in the movie, but anyways, the beauty of letting go, of giving it selflessly, there is something beautiful about it. So yeah, so there is a problem with this Trevorrow script. But what bugs me most is the idea that this is not just a pitch that he came up in a weekend and say, okay, let's do this story where he ends up at. He actually wrote it, right? So he probably spent a lot of time writing it. And what I'm wondering is that how come nobody told it? How come he can write it? Like how come there is no direction for I was under the impression that there was a roughly laid out story for the sequel trilogy, but it seems there wasn't. Even if you say no, but he was fired, but they let him write it. Don't they come in a pitch meeting? I mean, don't they tell them something? I mean, that's what makes me very distrustful of Lucasfilm and very distrustful of Disney in whatever they do with Star Wars from now on.
I agree. I mean, when I saw The Force Awakens, I realized that they'd had no plan in place. But the only thing I was confident about was, okay, I thought that Ben Solo would come out redeemed and live. Yeah. Now that wasn't the case, but I still thought, well, it seemed like the opposite of Vader's arc. It still reached that, even if it wasn't in the way I'd liked. It looks like the only planned thing was the heroine having a strong, romantic bond with the villain and ultimately redeeming him. Mm-hmm. But with this, no, that doesn't seem the case at all. It just seemed, I mean, even with you had that interview with JJ Abrams of all people, and he essentially said that even though he thought he wanted the relationship between Rey and Kylo to be romantic, he still left it open for them to be brother and sister. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? There's nothing even remotely brother that even points to them being brother and sister in that movie. He's very, in the interrogation scene, he's very, very close up to her face and roving his eyes down her body, and I'm just like, what? And on top of that,
the sabers.
Yeah, and on top of that, you have Han and Leia, who, she keeps the same hairstyle from when she was a kid, and you have Han and Leia not recognizing her, not even mentioning a long-lost daughter, and, it's so funny when Finn, now when you watch Finn run up to Han and say, "Oh, Kylo Ren kidnapped Rey," and he's just like, "Yeah, whatever." Is that a father who lost his daughter? I don't think so.
Or not even really a father figure. I can see how maybe he was a father figure to her, that she attached to him, but not like really the other way around. What I found is that it's a failure of story. I know ideally we want some mythic things, some symbolism. It's not even that, right? Let's go to writing 101. You have a character who has like an issue and they solve the issue, and basically, right? That's what you have. And with this Trevorrow script, what's the story, right? So which character is solving what? So basically you can say, Rey has this issue that she's lonely, but then she found it, I guess, at the end of The Force Awakens. She found her newfound family. So what is her arc in this Trevorrow script? None, right? What is Kylo's arc?
Becoming more and more evil.
No, that's not a freaking arc. I'm sorry. I mean, and then you can say, no, because a tragedy, you can do a tragedy, but a tragedy is structured differently. You have somebody who has a tragic flaw, and you can even say with Anakin, he had the tragic flaw of being so afraid and wanting power, afraid and wanting power to keep the people he loved, and that's his tragic flaw, which leads to his fall. However, with Kylo, he was a kid. And then there's all this extra material that I'm getting very confused. But with Kylo, we don't have that. You don't have, and we should have had him in a different position in the beginning, right? I mean, if you wanted to do a tragedy, we should have had what we're gonna have now with the Rise of Kylo Ren, this kid that's falling. Okay, Han and Leia's kid falling to the dark side. That works as a tragedy if you have, but to have Kylo, which is Han and Leia's kid, is a villain, and he's gonna be a villain and he's gonna die. That's not a freaking story. I don't even get in the Joseph Campbell stuff. It's not a freaking script, and I don't understand if these people don't study writing. I don't understand.
Do you know what? I have a feeling it's not a script, but I think, I mean, there's even an interview out there where Kathleen Kennedy herself said they hadn't even got to a first draft before they sacked Trevorrow. Okay. So I'm wondering if it's a treatment that information has come out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a treatment. But even then, why was he allowed to do that? But then I can see him coming with that, hey, look at what I wrote. This is like, but no, but at the same time, he shouldn't have been allowed. I'm not blaming him. I know it's shitty, but I think it's the fault of the the people who hire him. They should lay down the bare bones of the story and the minimum requirements, right? I don't know, when I get hired for a job, usually they tell me what I need to do. You have certain
story arcs that you need to
certain
fulfill.
Things that you need to do, and certain things that you need to. So it is surprising, but it's interesting that there are some elements from this treatment, whatever, that went into the Rise of Skywalker script, like Rey tricking the stormtroopers. They had something cool that they would have an uprising in Coruscant.
Yeah, that was Finn's arc. He was supposed to start
Finn
that.
and Rose. It would have been super cool. But I guess they kind of did that with Lando and those ships. It's not the same.
No.
They wanted to do the end game, which I like that scene in Endgame, but the copy is not so great, and so there are many elements that were transferred. So we can see that they came from this treatment, but it's just baffling that he should write that. And I'm not criticizing him. I'm criticizing the people who put him that place and who just say, write whatever.
There's two things that I really don't like about it. One is the Poe-Rey romance. No offense to damn Rey, guys, but I don't like it in context of the story, because Poe and Rey never interacted until the very, very last scene of the movie. Not of the movie, of The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be, I get that maybe Trevorrow was going for another Han Leia, kind of romance with them, but I don't think it would have worked. I mean, Han and Leia, they interacted quite a lot in the Force, in A New Hope, and then so their story arc felt very natural when it came to Empire Strikes Back, and this me doesn't feel quite the same. And also, personally, I felt like it felt like a cautionary tale for women. After The Last Jedi, where Rey has this beautiful arc, not only just exploring her sexuality metaphorically with Kylo, but they understand each other. They understand each other due to their loneliness, and they both feel like they've lost their way in the world, and they comfort each other. It was beautiful. And then with this, basically Poe as the nice guy, it just felt like a cautionary tale, and it completely derails the character development that both Rey and Kylo had in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it does. It's something that I was baffled, even we're gonna talk maybe sometimes about the marketing, but the way they have been, in the preparation for The Last Jedi, when people were saying, maybe Rey is a Skywalker, why did they let people go on speculating that, right? Did they by any chance think that people who think she's gonna be Luke's daughter are gonna be, wow, I was wrong, I'm so happy? movie, you know, or even with the marketing for The Force Awakens, you know, I don't know who told them it was a good idea. Let's pretend that the lead is a black guy, and you know, have all these people, the lead and the Jedi, the main lead, have all these people be excited about it to go there. It's like quack quack quack, gotcha. I mean, who the fuck allowed it? I'm sorry, it's not okay, it's not all right. And then okay, so after that, the movie came out, and then the only recognizable tropes of a story, I'm sorry, are romantic, for at least, if not romantic, for something, a strong relation between Rey and Kylo. Otherwise, there isn't a story, it's just people running around. So, of course, the people who are most excited, most of the people who are most excited about the sequel trilogy are the people who like Reylo, because that was the story. That's the only story that you can see, I see a story there. If you take anything else, you don't find like the skeleton of a traditional story with tropes, with structure. Anyways, and then we go and we get excited about what we see, and you know, and they just let people say, oh, you guys supporting incest, you know, they don't, I mean, why didn't they prepare it better? Why didn't they commit? But I guess the idea is not that the idea is that they didn't know what they were doing, right?
Exactly.
That's what happened.
I'm going to be very honest, it's still happening, you know, there's, we all know what's been going on these past few weeks, we won't get into it, but it's really been, for me, it's kind of just been heartbreaking for, you know, just to watch Lucasfilm just sit back and just allow this to unfold, and and like you said, you're now mistrustful of what they'll do in the future. So am I, because they've really let not just, you know, new fans and newcomers down, but they've also let female fans down in general. Yes. And also there are plenty of old school fans like you and me who like the sequel trilogy and who were excited about it and where this could go. And for us, for those fans, they let us down. So anyway, we won't go into it, but it has to be said.
It has to be said. And the idea is that Kathleen Kennedy said she wanted more women in the fandom. She chose Adam Driver. JJ made Adam Driver be Kylo Ren and look beautiful, you know. So
don't forget the commentary on the Blu-ray. He was going on about all these fairy tale tropes.
Of course. So they knew. I mean, maybe they didn't know what they're doing. I was like, they knew what they're doing. I'm starting to think that they have no clue. But you know, you have all these tropes. Of course, people are gonna love it. This is exciting. Enemies to lovers, dark and light. This is epic. This is so space opera. You know, any other plot that you could have imagined. It's just not the same. Let's say, it's about, even if we had Rey as Luke's daughter, or it would still be about her and Kylo, their connection and their love, but just differently, right? I can't see any other plot for this. I mean, what is the plot? And you know, like Rey getting stronger.
Rey getting a cautionary tale for women. Never fall for the bad boys, even though, you know, there's loads of examples in fiction, including Star Wars Legends, where the hero falls for the lost woman or the sexy, you know, dark side lady. I mean, come on, it's just it's not right.
Yeah, and
it's a double. The word I'm looking for it's a double standard.
It is, but I think the idea maybe is that they really didn't realize what they were doing, which is super. I don't know what's more worrying, if they knew what they were doing and just let it happen, or that they had no clue what they were doing. You know, they had no clue what the plot was. Okay, so you're gonna write a story. You get a main character. Usually the main character has some kind of flaw, some kind of pre-existing problem, and it's something that they're gonna overcome, right? So that's how you write a story. And so you can have that with Kylo, right? So he has this darkness, he has this thing. You can have that with Rey, looking with her loneliness. But anyway, so yeah, and then we had The Last Jedi, which was very clearly romantic, right? You have Ryan, and they liked it, right? The people from the production and Lucasfilm. And just now there was an interview about I forgot who it was with. I'm sorry.
Mary Jo.
No, not her. About The Last Jedi, and they were talking about I forgot who it was. I think it was somebody in the editing. Yeah, it was the editor. I forgot his name. That's horrible. And he was talking that it was that scene was a culmination for their budding romance.
Oh yeah, it was one of the production managers. Yeah, I know the one. I don't remember his name, but I can see his face. Yeah.
So you see, romance. So it's very clearly stated as romance in the movie. So we had The Force Awakens was a little empty of plot. We had established these characters. In the movie that develops them, we have Rey and Kylo having this connection, and you can say, oh, but it was a movie that had problems, had issues. As far as I know, some people hated everything. They hate Star Wars, Disney, they hate everything, and it doesn't work. But from the people who disliked the movie, usually the issue was, look, it's not really the issue Rey and Kylo. For some are the people who are like, oh, these women in the fandom. But you see, people who don't want women in the fandom, they're not good fans. You want women in your fandom. You want women to take their kids to like Galaxy's Edge and stuff. But it wasn't such a huge deal, Rey and Kylo.
No, I remember the reviews that came out from fans and from critics. But what the best thing was about Rey and Kylo. Rey and Kylo. That was the most positive thing. Even like famous YouTubers like even famous YouTubers were like commenting on it, saying it was the best thing about the movie. Like how it should have ended. They liked it. PewDiePie liked it. Quite a lot of people liked just loved the Rey and Kylo moments. Whereas Luke was definitely the worst. I think the worst reviewed part of it. And, and to be fair, I do agree. I do not like Luke's arc in The Last Jedi at all. But there we have it. And then, lo and behold, with Rise of Skywalker, for all the problems that it had... In fact, let me just say, even before Rise of the Skywalker, you had such positive marketing towards Reylo. You had big businesses like Waffle House, saying, oh, this is a Reylo pancake. This is a pancake for the Reylos. Come down and get it. You had, Nerdist doing... doing a Reylo / A Star Is Born video, which was so cool, and it was so positive. You had all this positive stuff, from other businesses and fans and casual fans marketed towards Reylo, and all of it was positive. So for Rise of Skywalker, not just Rise of Skywalker, but for this to come out and this Trevorrow script where Kylo is evil and and he killed
Rey's
parents.
So I guess he committed murder when he was 10 or something, because the timeline doesn't add up. It would have been before he turned bad, and not only that, he would have probably been like 10 years old. So
not just that, but apparently Rey witnesses this. And she again, same hairstyle. Kylo doesn't recognize her in the forest, so plot hole. And not only that, but if he killed her parents and she witnesses it, who dropped her off on Jakku? Was it him?
There were some theories of that, but the age like this. She's 19, he's like 29. He's 10 years older than her. She was like 5, right? Well, okay, if she was 5, he could have been 15, but it really, the timeline really doesn't fit, and that's, I agree with you, like, after all this positivity, this movie that established this, they go and turn it around with Trevorrow. It's very strange, and it seems that they had no plan. I thought they had a very loosely based plan, that's what I always thought, but I guess there was no plan at all, which is very strange for especially because they wanted to finish stories that we loved for years, right? So that's very, and like for me, what hurts with I'm getting ahead of me, but I with The Force Awakens, I thought they threw Han and Leia a little bit under the bus, right? Because they're no longer together. Han went back to being a bum. He's swindling people again. He went back to the beginning of A New Hope. But then I said, okay, they threw them under the bus for Kylo, for this new story. Okay. And then with The Last Jedi, they threw Luke under the bus. And it's like, okay, they threw Luke under the bus, but it's for Kylo, right? Because we're going to have an awesome story. And then in The Last Jedi, they threw Kylo under the bus. Yay.
And Leia.
Not Last Jedi, in The Rise of Skywalker.
They threw Leia under the bus. Oh my goodness. She sent her son away in the she says in The Force Awakens to Han, she sent him away because she was afraid of him becoming like Vader. But apparently, according to Chris Terrio, she knew Rey was a Palpatine and still trained her, and you just like, my brain is just like, does not compute, because that makes Leia look like the worst mother imaginable. You send your son off because you're afraid of him becoming a monster, but then you train the girl who is a direct descendant of the man who screwed your galaxy over, and you spent years fighting him and trying to overthrow his regime. Excuse me.
Okay, to be fair, I think it could have worked, but that's the problem. It seems that these details were thrown in at the last minute. You could have that work for a movie if you work it as like, okay, this is my second chance. I'm gonna give this girl the chance that I didn't give to my son, and I hope she brings my son back. You see how that could have been emotional and beautiful if it had been worked, right? But it wasn't. In fact, it's not even the movie. It's just in his, it's beautiful because she's training him. Well, no, it's not. It's bizarre and weird. And yeah, so it's what I find is that movies, they're like, I forgot who said it. A bunch of people said that you go to movies to feel deeply. So movies, they're like a little roller coaster that you do with your emotions. But it's safe, right? Like a roller coaster. It's scary, but at the same time. So you have to consider these emotions, but they were missing there. And also something that's important is like to take into consideration expectations and manage expectations. Something that upsets me a lot is when they say, but each group of fans wanted one thing. Well, duh, of course. You don't know what you're marketing, in your marketing. Like, for example, people who are expecting Kylo to be the villain and Rey and Finn to get together, they're based on the marketing, right? Or, people who expected Kylo to be the new Vader, they should have established these things from the beginning, but I guess they didn't. Yeah, anyways. No,
I agree. And I hope we can, do a personally, yes. I think they should never have used Finn as the scapegoat, but, it was awful.
No,
and, instead of, there was that trailer where they pretty much hinted that Rey was a Skywalker, my father has the Force, I have it, my sister has. And there was that shot of Rey when Luke says these things. No. What they should have done from the very beginning was set up Rey as the heroine, Kylo as the villain, and go full on with the connection / enemies to lovers thing.
Yes, and people would have eaten it up. People who don't know Star Wars would look at it as like, ooh, interesting, And they could have, from the beginning, from the trailers, established that Kylo is the grandson. Imagine if you had like the scene with the mask. Show me the darkness. Grandfather. Yeah. Come on. And then people would be invested in him, knowing him. But this way, people went to the movies thinking that he was the new throwaway villain, and they couldn't shake off their expectation, no matter what they saw. So That's the thing. Managing expectation is the job of the writer. It's not. It's not. Oh, people have crazy ideas. Yes, some people will have crazy ideas, but it's about understanding setup and payoff, putting things in, understanding tropes. Like this thing with Reylo is the freaking tropes that are all over The Force Awakens, and it's interesting, it's engaging, and it makes sense for a story, right?
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Not okay.
Not okay. Oh, but when we look back and say, "Oh my God," and now I'm upset. I'm like, I trusted these people. I trusted you. How could you do that?
So did I, Denise. So did I, and I think I think a lot of people did.
But I'm just gonna say one thing. I think JJ actually likes Rey and Kylo Ren, because he was talking about their connection and saying that it was the heart of
Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker, and he says it with a smile and with a glimmer in his eye. He truly likes it, and he should like it, and he should be proud. It's something amazing that he created. But I don't think Chris Terrio has the same idea. But I don't think there's a JJ version lying around. I don't think there's anything lying around.
For Rise of Skywalker was leaked on Twitter today. It's out in South Korea, and wow. Let it just be said, the stuff that we've read before recording this, they are badly translated, so I have no doubt that when we get it in English, things will be more clear. But it seemed like, one of the things that they did want planned from the beginning, this was a quote way back in 2014, that they did want Rey to adopt the Skywalker name. And I'm like, well, it's just what we've been talking about, isn't it? Why bother making Kylo the Skywalker? Why bother making him, sympathetic to us? Why bother making him a character that so many can identify with? Why bother making, him, oh my God, why bother making allegories to him being an abuse victim, not just at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker with Palpatine being in his head, but in the comics? In the Rise of Kylo Ren comics, where he has that tragic backstory where he didn't want to destroy the Jedi Temple. He flat out says he never wanted this. And then you have Snoke, basically, as, we all saw it even in The Last Jedi, but Rise of Skywalker hammers home even more that he's basically a stand-in for a child groomer. It's awful. And yet for somehow he's the throwaway character, and Rey becomes the golden child that Luke and Leia, want.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You can't do that, but they did.
It's horrible. I understand that some people that see it as a meaning that's beautiful, adopted family, but it's very hard. Like, I'm a mother. I mean, I'm not gonna change my son for so. I could, you can love more people, but family is family. But you're talking about the art book. Something very interesting. It has scenes from the Oracle. It was a previous version that we saw in the leaks. By the way, I have to apologize. Because I said those Jedi Pax's leaks were a bunch of yarn, because it kept changing all the time. But it turns out they kept changing.
He was right.
It was the production of the movie that kept changing. So it had the Oracle, and that scene was produced. There are some production photos of that, and it looks like a photo. And it seemed that they would go much deeper in Kylo's arc and in the notion of a dyad. And there was no Palpatine. There's no Palpatine in the art book. Ta-da. What do you make of that?
No. Wow, I'm shocked that there's no Palpatine in the art book. So it just makes me wonder what was the plan, and I think it ties in with this Trevorrow script.
Yes.
That he really did plan to make Kylo the ultimate bad guy in the end, which is why there's no Palpatine. But they were like, we don't want Kylo to be the bad villain, so they had to change it, and they were stuck. having a
it
new
seems
villain.
that it was kind of a last minute change. That was somehow Palpatine returned. But I'm gonna be honest that I actually think that I wouldn't have minded not having a bigger villain, because something that I wanted, the reason I wanted a Force sensitive villain was for epic lightsaber battles. But they were having lightsaber battles. If you look at the structure of the Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine is in the background. He does very little. The biggest thing, the person who's actually active as a villain, quote unquote, even though maybe he's not, is Kylo. So they should have changed this a little bit, but maybe they could have done it without a bigger villain. I guess you need a bigger villain to mean something, but But on the other hand, it had more about the dyad and about his connection with Rey, something that
Yeah, in the leaks, the Oracle straight out said that Kylo loved Rey.
Yes.
So I think that would have been great, because it really would have hammered home even more that people still need, even with the kiss, that Kylo does love Rey.
Yes,
and she loves him.
Yes, and the idea of the dyad in the Force, it's cool, but only if it's metaphorical for something, right? I am for Rey and Kylo as romantic, but not I want it to mean something, because usually the Force plot, it is metaphorical for something bigger, for something greater, right? You have this in the other trilogies, and here we did not have this. It was just about Super Rey defeating Palpatine, but maybe in that version it would have been more of that. However, it has the problem that it doesn't have a bigger villain. But then by adding a villain at the last minute, it causes a huge problem as well, right? Because that's how the movie is so weird and so Palpatine doesn't know what he wants, go and kill her, and then he wants her, and then she wants her to kill. He has no clue what he wants. So, and
exactly,
it's ridiculous when you need even cartoonish villains. Usually they have a very clear goal, and Palpatine is just there, But it makes sense that he was a later addition. But I wonder why. Why did they add that? Why did they make these changes? And something else that I'm definitely sure, is that Rey Palpatine is an even later addition. Because
I agree. And do you know why I agree? Because, you remember that whole scene where they're fighting through the Force in Kylo's quarters, and Kylo has the mask on and he goes, "Palpatine is your grandfather." I don't think that was the actual dialogue when they when they actually filmed it, because Rey doesn't even mention Palpatine.
No.
And Kylo has the mask on.
Yes.
So you can add whatever dialogue you can later.
That's the wild thing. When JJ said that the reshoots were not extensive, and they were not, it's because they changed the plot without reshooting, right? And so that's what I say. So he has the mask. It's either somebody with the mask or somebody who's turned away, and we don't have any reaction. No character reacts to that, other than there is that part. If you look at it, there is no reaction. So it was a very weird choice to have that added last minute. I don't know why. I don't know. And it was why we were reading the leaks. We're like, no way she's a Palpatine, because it doesn't have any impact on the plot. But I guess it was for fan service, I guess. I mean,
it was a way to appease the people who were not happy about Rey being, she knows the Force too much. Where. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd rather stick with Rey Nobody. And I think we've said this before, haven't we? Pablo Hidalgo said on Twitter that Rey originally got her power through her connection with Kylo. Creating that connection during the interrogation scene. So
yeah, maybe
I think
it could have awakened her powers, maybe, just, I don't like her getting the powers from someone else, but
that still would have made their bond so much more unique to them.
Yeah.
And I think they should have explored that.
Oh yeah,
that should have been a plot point. Well, not a plot point, but really entwined in Rey and Kylo's characters in the whole trilogy, not just Rise of Skywalker. And Pablo shouldn't have had to explain it on Twitter. It should have been in the film. But
Yes.
They didn't know what they were. But the fact of the matter is, it went from that to Rey Palpatine.
Yes.
Again, did they know what they were doing?
Yeah. So they did not know. I think they were trying to fit in things that would please people, right, without taking into consideration whether it made sense in the plot or not, which is terrible. I agree with fan services in terms of giving a story that we know what fan service is: good setup, good payoff, raising expectations and fulfilling them. That's what works. But anyways, I was talking about the art of the book. There is a part where there is Dave Filoni, right, saying that what is it that you can't come back from killing your father? But I don't really think that he says that Kylo could not be redeemed. He redeemed there's redemption Callus in which was much worse. Yeah, so Dave Filoni, I don't think he thinks Kylo would have been unredeemable, because he redeemed Callus, and I guess I did not watch that because I watched the first season, I hated it and I quit. But I guess that's a moving story, those stories are interesting. This is story, this is plot, it change, story is about change, it's about character development, and it's about hope as well, at least Star Wars, right? Hope and redemption. So
let me just say that if he really did say that he feels like Kylo was just completely unredeemable, now I'm not saying he has said that. Like I said, I think more the whole quote will be clear once the English version comes out. But let me just say this: I think it would be hypocritical if he did, because he's redeemed Callus, and not only that, but it was Zeb's friendship with Callus that led to that redemption. And again, with Kylo, it was his relationship with Rey that led to his redemption. But if he said he's unredeemable with that, then it kind of just shows, oh, well, if you're a man, you can redeem another man. Or if you're a man, you can redeem a woman. But if you're a woman, you can't redeem a man at all. It's just not right. That's not a nice message. But regardless, I think you're right. I don't think he said that.
Yeah,
particularly
in that way. I think he said something about not being able to come back from killing his dad, which is, I guess we will see if these quotes are in the book that comes to us, right? We don't know.
But we will find out in March, so hold on to your hats, kids.
Yeah, I don't even want to buy the thing. I don't know. So
I'm not going to buy it. I'll wait for people on Twitter to do it.
But the idea with this book, what I find intriguing is that how much was changed and how it confirms a lot of the leaks and the crazy leaks. The leaks were changing like a lot, and how things were patched up at the last minute. And they sacrificed story when you say sacrifice story for fan service, I guess it means that you write your story based on fan service. But that wasn't even the point. They had something, they just put stuff in, that didn't fit. They just put it there, like, let's put Rey Palpatine and stuff. So it was very strange.
Let's cut Rose Tico's arc out to appease the people who harassed her off social media.
Yeah, but I'm gonna confess, I was reading the interviews of Chris Terrio. He's so out of everything. If people have not read it, I'm just gonna say, basically he only calls Kylo, he calls him Ren. Ren is a freaking title. It's like calling Darth Vader Darth. Anyways, but he doesn't know. He says the twins, Luke and Leia, had never been to Tatooine before, so I guess he didn't watch Return of the Jedi. He says the original sin, as if it was the freaking Bible. It's not. Original sin of the trilogy of the saga was the separation of the twins, right? He just completely forgets Anakin, and basically it's that's something worse. He says that each character had a code name, and they called Han the janitor because he had to clean up the stuff, the mess that his son did. That's
wow.
gross.
I did not read that interview. I didn't even know. Oh wow. Yeah. That's horrible.
So if somebody's hoping that there's a cool version of this movie out there, no. But I find that and the idea that, we finish it as a fairy tale, her in Tatooine alone.
No.
It's just things that, and the idea that going back to Tatooine, because it's where the story started. It didn't start in the Lars homestead. It's just some things that he shows first that he doesn't understand the prequels. He seems to have a preference for Luke and Leia. Which is anyway, I guess, he didn't really watch Return of the Jedi, so I can kind of get it. He says it was the first movie he watched when he was a kid. I guess that was enough. He didn't watch it again. I don't know. So the idea, and missing the prequels, you have, the whole stuff with Anakin. We didn't need to have it a lot, but just the understanding of what it was that he doesn't have, and a huge dislike for Ren, because it's not Ben, of course, as a throwaway character. And something that's horrible is that in the movie, in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey calls him Ren, which was something that she had never done. Guys, continuity at least, and she even calls him Ren after she killed him.
Stabs
and
him, yeah.
And she's talking to Luke. His nephew, it's just very... it's bad. But
it's awful. And, again, I can't stress enough, even with, like I said, Pablo Hidalgo's quote, he said, I like the idea of Rey being the Skywalker. Again, that is poorly translated, but I'm just going with what I've got. It's just, like I said, why even bother making Ben the Skywalker? Why just make it Rey? And the fact that she ends up alone on Tatooine without the person who she spent 2 movies having this, building up this relationship with. He was the only one who could understand her, the only one who felt her pain and loneliness, and she understood him too. For her to go and smile on her own on a desert planet, which Luke hated, by the way. It was a place where his aunt and uncle were murdered. He was desperate to get off. He said that a few times in A New Hope. And when he came back, he was just very blasé about it. He said to Han in Return of the Jedi, "Oh, there's nothing to see here. I used to live here. There's nothing to see." And yet she turns around and sees him smiling at her, and she goes, "I'm Rey Skywalker."
Yeah.
I know some people, I think Pablo said this in the Artbook as well, that it's the fact that the message you can choose your own family. I'm sorry, it's a horrible, horrible message, because what they've basically done, they've just pushed their child/nephew out of the way, this as a throwaway. They're basically saying they didn't want him. They want the pure virginal good girl who's good at everything. So it's a horrible message.
And it actually contradicts The Force Awakens. One of the first lines of that movie, which comes from a wise figure. So it's something that we can kind of believe. It seems like this is the theme of the movie, right? You have... It's a way to do it, stated theme in the beginning. You can't deny the truth that is your family. Right after we have the book Bloodline, which is about Leia. So it's not that she was hiding that she was Anakin's daughter. She didn't even like him, and she used her gun. But then they find out, and it comes to bite her, right? And it's something that's bad. So there is this truth of your family that you can't really hide. Yeah, you can choose a new family, but the thing with Chris Terrio is that he has this idea that these things are good and it's like a fairy tale because if you finish with the siblings, which is a very strange idea. To that end, I just wanted to tell you, there is a user on Twitter, her name is Edith Sanchez. She did an edit of Return of the Jedi, very similar to the way they edited The Rise of Skywalker. So basically Vader dies, but we don't see anything, Luke goes away, and it's really brilliant because it's so jarring and horrible, just like The Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm. And not, do you know what I want? Do you know what would be interesting to me? Mm-hmm. If they... do a book, if Rey has her own Bloodlines book where they find out she's a Palpatine and just completely ostracize her, and she's like, but I chose the Skywalker name, they're my true family. Nope, sorry love, you're Palpatine's granddaughter. You're in a way responsible for all the stuff he's pulled.
Yeah.
They need that. They need that for it to make sense. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well,
it's so contradictive.
It doesn't make sense, and first also a name like that usually you change when you marry, or it's or when you're adopted. Like she's not a kid to be adopted. That also infantilizes her. Like, oh, she's
while wearing pure white with her childhood hairstyle. Yeah, come on.
And there's something else, because she had parents who. That's something horrible as well. They loved her and they sold her to slavery, which is horrible because that's actually still an issue in the real world. People sell their kids, and they sold her because they loved her. Anyways, but she had parents that were, so good, whatever. And yeah, she's denying them. But yeah, but we're talking about Chris Terrio and the interviews. Yeah, so I guess we're doomed when he came to the project.
I think the project was doomed either way with Chris Terrio's script, and then just moving on.
And I think
they should have just delayed it till 2020 or even 2021. Get
but
more
the actors,
time.
I think, have contracts, and also I think with Chris Terrio, no delay would have happened. But I can kind of see the problem is I think that maybe they did see that this was not good, but then they were out of time to hire somebody else and to try something different. But maybe in this case, but at this point, if they were to kick the screenwriter again, and I guess in terms of PR, it would have been bad or something.
Yeah.
But there were lots of changes, and they're documented with the leaks and everything. So it was something that was, and also we have some interviews. Daisy says that there was JJ had something and then he changed his mind. There's an interview with John Williams that says it was hard to record it because they had moving pieces, and he recorded a lot more than was there because it was changing all the time. So it was basically something that was being edited. And
yeah, JJ said, I can't remember, it was on a chat show, I forget which one, but he said he completed it like a week before that interview, yes, which I think was like the day before the premiere. So just like, wow, you're pushing it there, mate. You are pushing it there.
But it's, I think, I've heard that editing until late is not that unheard, but it seems that there were things that were really put in the last minute. And so what I wonder is why they were adding these things after the movie had already been produced. I mean, why add Rey Palpatine? That was ridiculous. That made no sense, since there was no impact on the plot. It was just, like you said, to please some fans who don't like her, to see her powerful. But why do you want to please these fans? I mean, you want to have families and everything. So I guess that was why. And the moving pieces of the, but I don't think there is some, I want to think that there was a decent product and then there was some studio intervention. But then when you hear Chris Terrio speaking,
yeah,
it's like,
I think it's just that I think from the get-go they had really no idea what to do. I mean, even in The Force Awakens, JJ was saying stuff like he added stuff because he thought it was cool. Like, does anyone remember Ashgate? Where
God.
Yeah, where he said the ashes in Kylo Ren's where he puts his mask are the ashes of his victims, and he said he only put it in because it looked cool. Yes. Now you can't do that. I mean, okay, you can get away with it sometimes if it does look cool, but you can't like keep using it as an excuse. This looks cool. This looks cool. This will be cool towards the fans at the expense of the story. No,
yeah.
At the expense of the characters. No. So the more I read behind the scenes interviews with Rise of Skywalker and this art book, I think they really had No, I think they just gave too much creative freedom to each director and didn't keep an eye on each director, and said, look, this is what we want, this is the basis of the story. You can still have creative freedom, but make sure it hits these points. No, yeah. I don't think they even had that.
Okay, so this is it for today. We're gonna stop for now, but we're gonna be back talking about more issues and complicated production of the Rise of Skywalker. Leave your comments, what you think, your opinion, even if you disagree, it's cool. And also remember, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm there posting as much as I can. We're also on Facebook, on Tumblr, and you can hear us on SoundCloud and iTunes and on YouTube. And leave a comment, and also don't forget to subscribe. It really makes a difference. See you next time, and may the Force serve you well.